Hey guys, well, have you ever wondered why certain people have moved in and out of your life? People who you thought were going to be long term, even maybe lifetime connections or friendships or whatever. And they dissolved, they split, and you really don't know what particularly happened, right? Maybe there was some sort of disagreement, but maybe not. And so sometimes those types of splits or those type of relationships that dissolve can cause grief. They can cause disillusionment. They can even kind of make you wonder whether or not it was something wrong with them or you. And so sometimes when we go through stuff like that, we grieve those relationships because we really don't know what happened. Well, after this video today, you will understand what is going on because we are going to be talking about how your life, how my life is a series of divine connections. That is what God intended for it to be, a series of divine connections. And unless you've lived all your life in some tiny little town where there's like only 45 people or maybe 100 people or whatnot, you are actually designed to have a life with different treasures that come in, meaning people, and different treasures at the right time go out. And so we are going to get into it, and 5 things that you absolutely have to know as you are navigating seasons like this. You won't be grieved anymore. You won't be wondering anymore. You will even bless those relationships on their way out. Okay? Even if it ends badly or even if it ends well, you will just bless them on their way out. And so what are those things? 5 things that you have to keep in mind. First of all, knowing who is called to be in your life in a particular season. Now, when I say who, I'm not saying that everybody else needs to be cut off. I'm just saying like those are the people that you keep more contact with, more engagement with. Those are people who are there for a specific reason, or you're in their life for a specific purpose. And so knowing who, how do you know who? Well, a lot of times what happens is that God will let you know what season you're in. Maybe you're in a season of transition. Maybe you're in a season of change. Maybe you're in a season of just having a steady life because you've been through so much. But God will let you know what season you're in. If you're in a season of growth, then you are going to need the right people around you. If you're in a season of transition, you're going to need to have the right people around you. So first of all, you have to know what season you are in. I have to know what season I am in. And when people come, we will be able to identify whether or not they are in sync with the season that we are in. What does that mean? It means that when you're in a season of transition, people will come into your life who either can support you through that transition, will understand that transition, will be able to speak life to you while you were in that transition, not naysayers, not people who are trying to keep you back and hold you back and say you shouldn't transition. Those are not the right people to keep. So when you're in a season of transition, you have to have the right circle around you. You know, when I am trying to maneuver and do things really silently because God is doing something big in my life, I'm very, very careful about who I tell, because there are always going to be naysayers out there. You don't need the naysayers, okay? So navigating seasons, certain seasons, you want to make sure that you have the right people. Again, people who are going to support you, you know, and just encourage you. People who are going to understand, because you might need that. So all of those things come into play, but also there will be counterfeits that come in, and those counterfeits are specifically sent of the enemy to bring confusion. If you are in a season and there's a specific person and they continually bring confusion, or when you get off the phone with them or get done meeting with them, there's a heaviness, or you just feel like slimed or whatever. Those are not the people that you need in your season, whatever season that might be. And they might actually be counterfeits sent of the enemy. People who are going to distract you from what God has for you. Counterfeits. People who are going to encourage you once again, people who are going to speak life, people who are going to understand, because they are going to be sent from God, what season you're in will be those that you want to really identify and look out for. So that is one. There will be people who are sent by God, and there will be people that are sent by the enemy. You have to identify them based on your season. That's one. Two is knowing specifically the purpose that they have in your life for that season. Think of Ruth and Naomi. I mean, immediately. I was not planning on talking about this story of these two women, but Ruth knew that basically Naomi had nothing. Her kids had died. Ruth was married to one of her sons. Her husband had died. And so really, Naomi, her mother-in-law, had absolutely nothing to offer. But Ruth knew something about this woman, something about her. I have got to keep her in my life. And as you all know, if you're familiar with the story, Ruth followed Naomi back to her home country. And Naomi was the one to make sure that Ruth remarried and that she actually was in the lineage of David, right? And so sometimes we have to stay connected with certain people, and so knowing that this particular person has a purpose in the season that you are in is absolutely key. You know, I think of how, like we were saying with Ruth and Naomi, she knew that she had to follow her mother-in-law. I don't know if she saw wisdom in her mother-in-law. I don't know if she saw that her mother-in-law really loved her. I don't know if she saw that her mother-in-law always landed on her feet, but she knew she had to stay with her mother-in-law. And so she saw that there was a purpose in staying connected with that relationship. When you are going through certain seasons of transition, certain seasons of life, certain seasons of whatever your journey brings you, you need to know the purpose of the people. The next thing that you need to know to do is to protect that relationship for that particular season. You know, I think about David and I think about Jonathan, and how Jonathan, even though his own father was hunting David down, trying to kill him because he was jealous that David was to be anointed the next king, which would, of course, displace him, which would be Saul, displace Jonathan's father. Jonathan was so close. The Bible says that Jonathan's heart was knit to David. That's how close of friends that they were. And so in certain seasons, there are going to be people that you have to guard that friendship, that relationship with. And you know what? One of the things with Jonathan, when he knew that his father was acting this way to David, he made sure to protect David. And so David had a divine protector in knowing that the son of the man who was trying to kill him was actually working to protect him, right? And so guarding that friendship, guarding that person for whatever reason that they're in your life for that season is key. Now, if you're familiar with this story, you know that Jonathan ended up dying, but for the season that he and David were close friends, Jonathan stood by him. Jonathan protected him. Jonathan guarded him. Know the people who are really for you. Know that you need to protect that relationship, because there will be people like Saul, Jonathan's father, who are going to try to destroy it. They will try to destroy it, and they will be sent from the enemy. So you have to know who's who, what the purpose is, and protecting that relationship for the season that God has it. The next thing, and this is probably the hardest thing, is understanding when the season is over. Listen, not every season is going to last a lifetime, like we see with Jonathan and David, right? Jonathan passed away. Not every season is meant to last a lifetime. But if you hold on to relationships past their expiration date, they will bring confusion into your life. They will start to grieve you. They will be more of a distraction than a benefit to your life. And the same with you, in their lives. And so understanding when a season is over and being willing to release them, being willing to let it go, being willing to just say, you know what? This was wonderful. I'm so blessed to have known this person. I'm so blessed to have known these people, but it is time for me to move on. And my alliance is not to people, it's to God. My alliance is not to people. It is to God. And so if God has you stepping into a new season and he has new people in that season, it would behoove all of us not to step in it with him, right? So holding on to the past for the sake of holding on because it's familiar and it's comfortable and it was good when it was good is not going to benefit you in the future. Release the past. Release what God is saying, let go, right? And again, I'm not talking about marriages. If you are married, you've made a covenant with God and that person. But in relationships that are friendships, or even some family members or acquaintances, or even the people that you knew when you were in the 4th grade or whatever, let it go. When God says let it go, let it go. Just let it go and move on to the next thing, because you can't come into the fullness of the next that God has for you unless you really do relinquish that in a real way. The next one, I think this is probably just as hard as the last one, but never ever make the relationship and the connection that you have with those people that are important to your life, who have a purpose in your life, who God has sent to you into your life, never make them as important or more important and significant in your life as God is. The day that you make them more significant or as significant as God is in your life is the day that God will start tearing that thing apart, slowly but surely. He does not want anyone above him. He does not want anyone before him. And if you're like me, you have had some very close friendships. You've had some very close relationships that have brought a lot of good, a lot of goodness, a lot of joy, a lot of peace, a lot of just good friendship in your life. But we are never, ever, ever to put them before their significance, before the significance of God in our life. Please know that no matter who you are, how close you are to that person, or how close your friendship has been over the years, God says in his word that he is a jealous God. He will allow no man to come before him. And you know what? Here it is. He has put people in all of our lives to be a blessing to us for whatever reason and season we are in. And so it would behoove us once again to hold on to what God has given us, not trusting that he will give us something just as good, if not better, or to look at them as more significant than God, when God is the one who blesses us anyway. He's the one who sent those people to us. He's the one who will do it again. He is the one who will bless us again. And so we really have to be clear on understanding, first of all, again, who is coming and who we are called to be connected with, and two, the purpose of those people. It will match the season that we're in. And so if they're not matching the season that we're in, then it's probably someone who the enemy has sent as a counterfeit or as a distraction. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just not that person that you need in your life for that season. We have to know how to protect that relationship for that season. But then of course, we have to know when the relationship and the season for the relationship is over. And then of course, not putting anyone or anything, meaning relationships, above the significance of God in our lives. And so hopefully this was helpful to someone. If you can relate to this, just let me know. I would love to hear what you got to say. Please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.